Despite the fact that this woman looks as if she has a life, computers don't have life. And they basically can just work with individuals, model what they, if we figure out the technology correctly, model what they have learned, what they haven't learned, and just kind of teach to you. So I understand that, and so I'm basically telling you that since there is no clear way you would know which of the 150 people I am aiming my course at, I'm just telling you this is what I'm aiming at. And if you're too far away from this, then you probably might be, you might want to reconsider what you want to do. I should also mention that in general, just for myself, I don't feel particularly proud of it, but for myself, a smart person being bored in the class is more negative to me than a struggling person falling behind. I'm not proud of it, but I'm telling you what it is. Okay? And so for the second part, I make sure that there are many, many TAs, many outside class ways in which you can come up to speed. But I want to make sure that nobody gets bored here, especially if they understand. Okay, honor code. Unless explicitly stated otherwise, all the assignments are strictly individual effort. You're forbidden from trawling the web for answers, code, etc. Look, I'm not looking for people who are so crawled out of under the rock just this morning that they don't know that for any course that can be asked in, any question that can be asked in an Intro to AI course, there are 15 sites giving you the answers. But I know you know, and you should know that I know that. Okay, first of all, I actually very seriously believe that integrity is not being brain dead. Integrity is knowing that you can cheat and choosing not to. Do you understand? Please understand this. Integrity is that knowing that you can cheat and choosing not to. And I hope you all have integrity. I'll just assume blanketly right now that all of you are honorable people. I'm not going to play the policeman. I didn't take up this job to be a policeman. I'm a very bad policeman in multiple ways. Including if you get caught, you don't want to be caught by me. Okay? So the expectation is that I start with the prior assumption that you're all honorable. Any infraction, however, will be dealt with in the severest terms allowed. Because I'm saying this, it's being recorded, so I have it on the record that I've already told you. You don't have to say, oh, I didn't know that I'm supposed not to cheat here. Every other class I get to cheat. No, that's not going to happen. Okay? You should assume that we know the usual ways students cheat, and we'll check for those. We are teaching AI, we are pretty intelligent folks ourselves, okay? And we have mass and we have AI techniques that we'll be using that you don't know of, that will check whether or not you're basically copying, okay? But we are basically, those are the automated things. Most of the time, I'll just assume everybody is here to learn and everybody is here to just play by the rules, okay? That's just the way it is. Any questions on this? I'm not ever again going to talk about honor code in this class. This is just supposed to be assumed. Okay? I mean, the class, what I would love to do is, in Harvey Mudd College, they have a honor code, and once you sign the honor code, you can take timed exams in your dorm room. That's what honor and integrity means. So people will basically just put a line, right? As soon as the time is over, they put a line and say, we're done with it. Okay, I think we can do that. I mean, everybody is it's not like having high IQ. Being honorable doesn't require high IQ. Okay, so let's all be honorable. That's basically the point. Any questions on this? Okay, then we are going to do introduction to the course. Okay. So you'll notice that any slides I give from my recent talks would be the nice landscape slides, but any slides I do for the class would be the old 4x3 slides. Because I've been doing this course for a long enough time that I keep changing them, add more slides, etc. They still continue to be in 4x3. So this one, of course, more recent one, so that's how it's filling up the thing. So anyway, so notice that I did this introduction, quote unquote, with 2001 Space Odyssey. By the way, how many of you have seen 2001 Space Odyssey? What are the rest of you doing, essentially? Why are you even taking an intro to AI course if you haven't done that? I mean, seriously, it's way more interesting in some ways than Ex Machina ever can be. Okay, it's sort of influenced everybody in AI. So people ask, you ask anybody in AI, the people who have done large amounts of work in AI, what's the most, what is one of the movies that influenced you most? They'll all mention 2001 Space Odyssey. It's a crazy movie, honestly. If you actually haven't read the book, the movie doesn't make sense up front, but it's certainly worth seeing it. So the point being that I did that introduction and it stopped at 2014, if you noticed. I don't know, you may have been just thinking, thank goodness this is over, but it actually stopped with the 2014 slide. Basically, AI as a discipline has been around for quite a long time. This was my undergraduate thesis in speech recognition. You notice that laser printers weren't invented, and that's my handwritten pictures and so on. And when I was doing graduate study, mostly AI was for suckers. People basically, everybody would be kind of snickering away saying, why can't you do something more exciting like software engineering? Maybe even databases. Okay, so that's the way it's been, and what's worse, while nobody says software engineering can't be done and databases can't be done because they don't even care about them, so why would they actually take a stance? Respectable physicists like Roger Penrose, AI as a field has had a critical problem with mathematical physicists that we will see in a minute, because Stephen Hawking hasn't been particularly nice to it either, in a different way. But Roger Penrose, for example, would write a bunch of books like, no, this is just, the whole thing is not possible. AI can be done. So we'll just prove a theorem up front, okay? And there is no theorem, of course, but it's a physicist, so it has a large number of mathematical symbols at any rate. And so as a graduate student trying to do a thesis in AI, way before you and probably some of your parents were born, in 1984 time frame, the reception we had essentially for AI was these kinds of things. What computers still can't do, what is Emperor's New Mind, why AI is not even possible. There's this whole entire thing about Chinese room. There's actually, in the textbook, there's a AI and philosophy section. It's worth reading, if you're interested. The Chinese room is a very interesting mind game to think about as to what does it mean to say some understanding has been achieved. Okay, so this is what was going on. And then, things were going along long enough that actually when I was teaching this course, I had to make that particular zing-bang introduction, because it wasn't like you people were flocking the halls to take intro to AI. You're all busy taking, you or your peers in those days were taking software engineering, poor guys. And so now, of course, we can't stop you from coming in, because there's just people, trying to do any possible AI course. But to some extent, actually, I think the tipping point is where that last little excerpt ended. Stephen Hawking and everybody's favorite car manufacturer, Elon Musk, essentially one day woke up and said, the biggest worry for humanity is AI. Okay, and then that sort of, you know that from the day one, even before these guys were born, Hollywood has been telling you that robots are basically out there to kill us. There is no other reason why robots are there, okay? And so they have been telling you this. The only difference is now New York Times also tells you this. Now every other news article also basically tells you AI is out to get you. So that's the scream that was heard across general population about, oh my God, AI is kind of going to be a badass sort of a thing. So Musk and Wozniak and Hawking urge ban on warfare and AI and autonomous weapons. AI is going to cause huge technological unemployment. Netflix, Reed Hastings basically said the battle for Earth will be between AI machines and genetically modified humans. I don't know how their movies are going to be on Netflix. And then, of course, Stephen Hawking back in 2016 itself, and of course, by the way, I assume you know that he's no longer there, poor guy. He's an amazing physicist, but he says the key to saving humanity will be colonizing other planets. Really, Mars and Moon, all that stuff is fine and fun. But he felt it's too late already. So the robots are out to get you before you even get away to the planets. So those of you who said you're taking this course to figure out how to stop the robots, you are on the right track. Because anyway, space travel is apparently not going to be enough. You just have to defeat them right here. Okay. So this guy is Oscar Wilde, Britisher. I didn't say this. Oscar Wilde said this. If you want to report me to your local patriotic committee, please remember that it was this guy who said that America is the only country that went from barbarism to decadence without civilization in between. He is like full of these kinds of criticisms. He's like, life of the party. At the end of the party, they'll beat him up. But that's a different story. So he said this, and I would think, is it true that is AI possibly the only technology that went from full disappointment, which is for most of my career, directly to doomsday? There's no in between. Right? It isn't working, it isn't working, it isn't working. Oh my God, please stop doing this. Where is the middle? Where is the good times that database people, etc. had? Do you see what I'm saying? Right? So, this is what I was thinking at one point of time. So what I want to do in the time that I have today is to kind of give you a sense of what just happened. It's sort of an overview of what happened in that article, but with me running around in front of you. So what happened, of course, is this, the huge hype. AI is not only bigger than you can suppose, it's bigger than you can suppose. So this is actually a play on something that a biologist, J.P.S. Haldane, once said. By the way, this is the other thing. This class will be full of references, just full of references. And if you pick up all those references, it might be useful. Especially Seinfeld. If you have time, watch Seinfeld. Simpsons also will help. Okay, but J.P.S. Haldane is this biologist, and he said the universe is not only queer, but it is queerer than you can suppose. We don't even know how strange the universe is what he was saying. And I think that's sort of true for AI too. AI is not only bigger than you suppose, it's bigger than you can suppose. You all heard about these kinds of things. How many of you haven't heard that AI is the new electricity? You haven't heard or you have heard? You have heard. If you haven't heard, you can connect your AI system to plugs or something, and apparently fans will run. AI is the new electricity. That's what Andrew Ng said. Sundar Pichai, who is the Google head, basically wanted to go one above him and said AI is actually bigger than fire and electricity. It's like the biggest. Okay? Tony Landowski, when he had time before copying stuff from Google and recapping Uber, he discovered God and he said AI is God. Okay? Every possible random industry wants to say they have AI in it. AI is bigger than blockchain, by the way. Remember that New York company for doing maybe like cascades or something said blockchain cascades, and its stock blew up for a while before people thought it makes no sense. Okay, so similarly, if you have a company and it's not doing well, say we are doing AI. Great. So one of this, the thing that I like is this new Colgate smart electronic toothbrush. Okay, this is designed with the help of dentists, and it uses AI algorithms to detect the brushing effectiveness in 16 zones of the mouth. Smart brush. Totally smart brush. Okay? I don't know, I would never use it, but you're welcome to use it. Okay, so this is the level of positive hype about AI. The negative hype about AI is bigger threat than North Korea. AI will start the third world war. Okay, that's what according to Elon Musk. AI could be the worst event in the history of civilization itself. Stephen Hawking. And Musk comes back to the rescue saying AI is highly likely to destroy humans anyway. So what are we talking about? Civilization is going to be destroyed. Unless neural link succeeds and we all become one with the Borg. Okay? So that's basically where the level of hype has reached the crescendo. Yes?
Is Elon Musk behind some of the greatest AI algorithms?
He's behind at the level that he will fail any intro to AI test. Okay, but he has enough money that he I'm sorry, so the market for, I'd like to say this, so I also have a Twitter account mostly to do this kind of nonsense on the side, and I've said that the market for AI experts without any AI background has never been greater. Has never been greater. Okay, so because if you know AI, you might actually temper what you're saying. You know, Elon is not the worst of them. There are random people. Essentially, everybody is an AI expert now. Okay, so it's like extremely hard to tell if anybody knows anything about anything. Okay, Elon certainly is a visionary entrepreneur. He has done pretty impressive stuff, including, of course, buying OpenAI and leaving it, and also starting Neuralink, etc. But does he understand AI theoretical limits, etc.? I would not think so. Okay. But I haven't given him a test. He certainly didn't take 471 as far as I can tell. Okay. So now, obviously, we are in academia. We are always bitter. We basically think Elon is getting all the credit. So we take this more, long-term view. We don't just go with the flow. We don't go with crazy hypes. So because of which, what is academia doing? MIT is planning a college for artificial intelligence. How many of you know this? Schwarzman College on AI is going to be started with about $1 billion. It's going to be at the same level as a college of engineering. Screw computer science. Who cares about computer science? It's bigger than engineering. Okay, AI is bigger than anything you can think of. Okay, Carnegie Mellon launches an undergraduate degree in AI. China unveils a high school AI textbook. Undergrad is too late. India introduces AI into 8th, 9th, and 10th grades. You guys are already screwed, right? Thankfully, we are in ASU. Knock on wood. We know that all of this is too little and too late. So I and my colleagues have started this in utero AI. So the world's first program to teach the unborn AI, right? Because they should come into this STEM world hyper competitive. Because India is out to get them, China is out to get them, MIT is out to get them, right? Okay, so you see that I have a life outside of the class at any rate. Okay, and of course I'm not complaining. It's like nobody used to care what I was doing. Now all of a sudden I get to hang out in studios. There's a Bill Nye episode in Netflix that features me. I don't have a Wikipedia page unless one of you make it, but I have an IMDb page. I was on that show. I have an IMDb page. Apparently my rank has fallen by about 3 billion points recently, but I do have an IMDb page. Okay, and then of course I got to go and meet big folks in India. I also got to go to White House to meet with various people. You probably can recognize. So many of these things happened during the time I happened to be the president of Association for Advancement of Artificial Intelligence, AAAI. And so, like our own leader, I take credit for everything that happens anywhere, even if it's revelation. So I made AI great again, is what I think. So I do have that particular cap, so you can buy it. Okay. So what I want to say, a couple of things in the next, how long, 30 minutes, right? No, 15 minutes actually, is a little more about what happened and maybe probably some of this, which is the AI's, the ethical impact and so on. But let's see, we can go faster. So what is AI? We'll spend more time talking about it next class. But essentially, informally, and it's for you guys, it's getting machines to do things that when done by humans would be considered intelligent behavior. Which looked like a great explanation for AI, except it's highly circular, first of all. And secondly, it is actually going to be quite biased, because have you ever said to your friend, boy, you're so intelligent, you realize this is a Diet Coke can, or a Diet Orange can? You never said that. Did you ever say, wow, you're so intelligent, you see this as a cat? Did you say that? No. You only seem to say that he's intelligent, she is intelligent, if they have done chess well, if they have done some Go well, if you are in some of the Asian countries. But somehow we have very specific views of what intelligence is when we are asked to say. So this, as good as it looks like a definition, it's actually a questionable definition. But technically, it really is designing intelligent agents. That's what we will talk about in this course. And figuring out what is the architecture of the intelligent agents is mostly what this course is going to be. The thing that I want you can keep in mind in terms of understanding the bigger arc of AI is this picture, that if you compare essentially the way human kids start showing what we consider as sort of signs of intelligence. Okay? A kid, you were all kids at one point of time, but you also probably saw kids. Little kids, when they come into this world, they start showing perceptual abilities. They can see, mom's face, dad's face, and smile at them. Okay? Kids who don't do that basically don't exist, because they never got any affection and they withered away. Then they can manipulate things, not just people, but also objects, take everything and put it into their mouths. That's like the most important thing to do. So here is a little kid who's actually trying to take, once we were in a lunch with this family, this kid was taking every little thing on the lunch table, very explicitly manipulating them, putting it into her mouth. And then the mom and dad are trying to stop her. Please don't, you'll choke. And the kid won't understand. But there are no robots that can do this right now. That level of fine motion, we just don't have robots yet. Okay? But kids do this. The image recognition, hand-eye coordination, these are things that are largely tacit and subconscious. We do this, if somebody asks you, how do you do this? You have no idea. Okay, so in fact, to get that into perspective, so this is kind of tacit knowledge. To get the difference between tacit and explicit knowledge into perspective, remember Coursera? It exists still. At one point of time, it looked as if Coursera is going to take over the world, which couldn't have mattered to you. You're only students. But for me, that's a job security issue. Right? If Coursera is teaching all the courses, what am I doing? Okay, so I was very quickly trying to become a swimming instructor. Do you understand why? Has anybody learned swimming by watching videos? Everybody here learned deep learning by watching videos. Calculus by watching videos. Swimming, not so good. Do you see what I'm saying? There are tacit knowledge, which is basically you almost have to be told, sort of, by hand, rather than read it in textbooks. But at the same time, that human civilization has written tons and tons of books. There are very few swimming books. There are books about swimming, how people will look if they are swimming, how they will win in the swimming. You read those books, you go into the swimming pool, you'll sink like a stone. Okay, that's the tacit knowledge. They then get emotional intelligence. They start showing emotions and recognizing emotional responses. That's a very interesting question as to why we have this, but that happens. Then they start having social and communicative intelligence. They know how to get along with other kids, and they know how to talk to other kids. Okay, either by gestures or by natural language, which only we have, animals don't have. Notice this stuff animals have. It's true that your dog isn't able to explicitly take stuff from the thing because it doesn't have a 5-fingered hand, but it's quite exquisite in the things that it can do in terms of physical manipulation. Elephants can do large numbers of amazing things. They have this nice big trunk. I wish I had one. You can use stuff and far away and then put your one. Right? Definitely it's not smart. So this stuff animals have. This also animals have. We know emotional support animals are never humans. You understand? You try saying, my buddy is my emotional support animal. Can I bring them on? Why don't we do this? Emotional support animals are animals. Okay? And they have emotional support. And social and communicative intelligence is the place where humans start becoming different. We have that animals don't have. Okay? And then finally, we go to cognitive and reasoning intelligence, the stuff that we seem to get tested on in your SATs and taking exams and all that stuff. This is almost the last thing that kids get. Some of you are probably still not ready yet for that. Okay? But that's the order approximately. We seem to show, the humans seem to show what's the intelligence abilities. Now if you look at AI's progress towards intelligence, this is not the first time. If you remember the 5-minute video in the beginning, it didn't start in 2018. In fact, it ended in 2014. There were a whole bunch of things that AI did by that time already that were pretty impressive. Okay? The kinds of things that were pretty impressive and led to all sorts of hype around AI include this thing called expert systems in 1980s, which were good for explicit knowledge. If your company has certain rules that it follows to make decisions, rather than have somebody read these rules and look at all the interaction between the rules and come up with a decision, you can automate this. So that's expert systems. And it was like a huge thing. In 1985, International Joint Conference on AI was held in Los Angeles, and the opening reception had to be held in the zoo. Not because AI people are animals, but because that was the only place that could fit everybody. Okay, in 1985. That was the previous bubble for AI. In around 90s, there were reasoning systems. We had chess, Deep Blue, which won over Kasparov. And basically, everybody was thinking that this is the end of everything, etc. But then somehow this moved on. And it's only even at the time when they were doing that, they were beating Kasparov, they didn't have the ability the machines didn't have the ability to recognize pieces or hold pieces. If on the other hand, you get your 1-year-old niece or nephew in front of a chessboard, they will hold each of the piece very carefully and put it in their mouth. But they have no clue what is a checkmate or what a pawn does. They think everything is for eating. They are good at actually that recognition and manipulation. That's the thing that was missing in the old chess programs, for example. We were able to do chess without doing any perception and manipulation. In some weird sense, honestly, we have up until now put cognitive intelligence on a high pedestal. I mean, if you think of Stephen Hawking, he's like the paragon of cognitive intelligence. The guy can't walk, he can't speak, he just barely sees, and he was able to change the world by thinking about how, the theories of physical world. That's what made us humans. That's what we consider the most important thing, right? It's only in 2000s AI started doing perceptual tasks. That's the stuff, by the way, all of you are here for. Because your cell phones can say, this is your picture, this is your friend's picture. You can talk to your cell phone, it can do voice recognition. This perceptual intelligence is the most recent phenomenon. If you didn't have this, and if you could rent 2-year-olds, I don't know whether it's allowed, but if you can rent 2-year-olds, they would be doing that for you. They can do perception, they can do manipulation. They'll put everything in their mouth, but they can do manipulation too. But it's important to keep this in mind. Okay, it's not obvious. You're all basically, everybody is swept up with, wow, AI is doing all this stuff. What it's really started doing right now is this, perceptual intelligence. Okay, now if you look at this, this is the way humans went, and this is the way AI systems went. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Historically. Why is that? Why did it happen that way? Yes, please.
My thought is because most AI algorithms tend to be mathematical, and so they tend to go by a very fixed and logical execution path, whereas the brain is a little bit more complex. And it's a little bit more like, I guess.
Okay. Generally, again, please don't take it wrong way. Anybody who says something might be wrong, and so I will say they are wrong, and so you all get to say, wow, that guy spoke, and at least I didn't speak. As they say, closed mouth gathers no insults. But the reality is, using this particular observation, I will say that if you ever tend to explain something by saying this stuff is mathematical, you are not on the right path. Everything is mathematical. It's just different math. Everything is mathematical. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's not a good way. It's a reasonable thing. Lots of people think in that way, but try not to think in those kinds of things because they're not particularly useful. Yes, please go ahead.
I think it's because humans design AI, so as humans develop our mind, so we have perceptual first, emotional first, then social and cognitive, and then we use the cognitive first. Then we
So you're just saying they're doing LIFO. They're doing last in, first out. Whatever they last, okay, I'll just tell you that. The other stuff I already forgotten, I don't remember. It's an interesting observation, but unfortunately it doesn't make too much sense. Right? Yes, go ahead.
So the cognitive intelligence is conscious, so it's accessible to us, and we understand that. And social is somewhat conscious too, but everything underneath that is subconscious. So it took experiments to elucidate how that actually works.
So I'm going to end with this slide, but this slide might take some time. So hopefully we will end very close to 45, but let me complete this slide before you run away. Okay. I think the fact that AI systems went this way, where humans went this way, if you understand why that happened, it explains a whole lot. Even trying to explain it to yourself is actually a useful phenomenon. So my explanation, of course, is that it is easier to program computers on aspects of intelligence for which we have conscious theories. Didn't you hear this proverb that says, I see, I kind of understand, I do, I understand more. And then the next thing is, I teach, I really understand. And the fourth thing is, I program, I really, really, really understand. Right? You heard this before you came here. What are you understanding? Because you have a theory for how to do it. And you are trying to put it in a program form. We had conscious theories, whether they're fake or reasonable, we had conscious theories for most of our cognitive intelligence tasks. We have zero conscious theories about how perception works, how manipulation works. There used to be an area called computer vision. I know a lot of you want to get into it. It's become a subroutine for machine